welcome to welcome to Nyuki Podcast and season 2. We are really blessed for this special edition of podcast, Nyuki Podcast that we decide to start having today. I think we have Uncle T and myself are going to be part of this podcast.
Yeah, 4 people for the first time.
Oh yeah, so Uncle T. So today we have 2 special couple. Special couple that we are blessed to have on this podcast.
Yes.
So shall we go ahead and introduce our guest,
or should they introduce themselves? Or should we? I will say a little bit and then they will add.
Yeah, let's
from
go
what I
down.
know, and you can add more. So we have a special guest. He's a pastor, and he's here with his wife. And the pastor is Spani's brother.
Wow. I thought you were just going to introduce him as a pastor, not as Spanish brother, but
and now they're going to see the resemblance. But yeah, we have a special guest, and he's a pastor, and he's here with his wife, our sister-in-law.
yes.
If they can go ahead and start and, introduce themselves, so, how they define themselves. And
So ladies first.
Hey everyone, so my name is Gladys. She called me First Lady Gladys.
All right.
I'm Pastor Balbin's wife, and he will introduce himself pretty soon. But yeah, I think it's short and simple. I'm a mom of 3 little people, and so far, so good.
Good to hear. Now we turn to the elephant in the room.
the man of the hour.
Hi everyone, my name is Pastor Balbin. I'm so happy to be a part of this broadcast. So thank you for the invitation. So I'm so happy to share with the people of God that are watching us tonight.
Amen
So
to
I'm
that.
a father of 3 kids and married to the beautiful woman. And also I'm a child of God too.
Amen.
Before being a pastor, I'm a child of God. So this is the one matter first. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time, both of you, for everything. Thank you. Spani, you want to go in with the first question? Or you want to...
Feel comfortable, Uncle T. Feel comfortable. Don't let them intimidate you.
No,
it's just a warm up.
With you is going to be different. He's your brother. He's a pastor, so it's like you might. I can get away with certain things, but you might get away with certain things as a brother. But then on Sunday you're in trouble. We don't want that.
Oh well, to answer that, I've used to that.
Okay.
So it's not going to be the first time, or it won't be the last time I found myself. It's like, wow, today this preaching is all about me. So it's normal. So you both mentioned you guys are parents of 3 little kids. How's that going? Are you guys done, or you guys are just taking a break then? Continue to have 7 more kids.
I think for now we're taking a break.
Okay.
We cannot have the last word because God is the one who decides. We can say, okay, this is the last one, but God has a different plan. So
Yes.
I don't know. Maybe the decision can change later on, but for now we take a little break now. Because sometimes God can give you a conviction now, and after that, say, okay, now you can move on. So we just looking at Him first. So when He give us a signal, we can move for more. But for now, I give her a break a little bit. That's funny.
So, First Lady, as you was talking, I see you were rolling your eye. So, What's your answer to that?
So we are done.
Wow.
I don't know where. I mean, it's a cute answer, and God bless you for that. But
She has different plans.
we are done, and
Oh Lord.
that's it. There's no but about it. Kids are a blessing from God, but it's not easy. And when you ask God, God will give it to you. Unless what you're asking God is not part of His will.
Okay.
So we asked God for 2 kids. We wanted 2 kids, and we have 3. So I don't see myself as a mom of 4.
Oh wow.
Where in the big, you just mentioned you saw yourself as a mom of 2, and then God
We
was
wanted
like,
2
wait
kids.
a minute.
But that's the thing, though. We wanted 2 kids.
You might not see yourself as a mom of 4.
No, but hear me out, though. We wanted 2 kids, right? And God is like, no, you're meant for 3, and He gave us 3.
Okay.
So my question is this. Okay, this house is too big. For 3 kids, it's not enough. I feel like some of those extra room need to be filled up. And
Thank you.
you see, my brother is here. Agree with me on that. So
Of course.
We agreed to disagree, but for now, we are good with 3 kids
Wait,
because my
Sorry.
last baby is my baby, and I can't see replacing him with another baby. I don't know.
Wait, Pastor said they're taking a little break. The
Yeah.
little break can mean 50 years, 20 years, 5. We don't know. So let's focus on the little break.
Exactly.
okay, we don't want the break to also be too long because it's coming down on me because they are bothering me.
He's like,
So I want more kids because all of them are claiming Malachi as the little baby. So,
But if you have more, they're still gonna be little babies, not little baby, but little babies.
wow, I see where you're going with that. Uncle
That's what I
Chiso.
said earlier, that it can change anytime.
Yeah.
God knows when. So that's why we cannot conclude, but we just say we take a break for now.
All right.
Okay.
When He gives the sign up, we're gonna move on
Okay.
for more.
I agree. Also, just knowing that every year pass, the older we are getting, so you don't want to get old and try to have little kids running around. So
Exactly.
Wait, they
You
have
got
some
it.
already.
yeah.
no, we're
First
good.
lady still not.
No. He's the first person who said we are done, and he's the same person who says he's waiting for God. Don't ask God stuff you cannot handle, because God will give it to you. And then,
But God give us what we can handle.
see, so we are good with 3.
Well, we don't know. God has the final say.
Yeah. We
It's
won't.
true, always.
By the time they might go to college, you guys might like, this
place is
a
quiet.
big house.
But that's,
Exactly.
but that's the thing.
That's
though.
the little break he was talking about.
Because I know how to play this game.
Yeah,
So
you see.
because it's a
So it's a
decision
game.
of, as I say,
Wow.
she cannot decide finally, because
What is going on?
I know
He's
how
the
to
coach.
play the game. I'm the coach, right? People are saying, no, this pastor is so corner.
Oh, man.
That's funny.
This is really This is really nice. I'm glad we break all the barriers now. Everyone feel comfortable
Yeah.
to this.
Get into it. See.
Let's go.
Go for it.
So one thing I want to know is, how did you guys meet? I want to hear the story. There might be someone out there, that need to be inspired.
Well, okay.
Oh, it's funny.
Be-
have
before-
different plans.
Before we get into how they meet,
Yeah.
I would say let's backtrack a little bit and let's focus more on
the pastor,
on the pastor,
not the first
then,
lady.
No, then when we get to where we
Discrimination.
want, then we can
Discrimination.
then we
Tell
can
him.
incorporate how did they start it.
Okay.
Because I think that would be really a good a good connection to that question you asked.
I agree.
He's
Yeah.
the CEO, so we have to listen.
Thank you. One day. Yeah. So, Pastor, let's go back. How did all started?
Wow. what started? What you talking?
Being your journey as
Your
a pastor.
journey as a pastor. Because before you become a pastor, you were the basketball player.
Exactly.
Everyone knew. With a lot of nicknames. I don't know if I'm allowed to remind you all of those nicknames.
The wife is about to find a lot of things out.
I know a couple of them.
Okay.
Wow. I still remember Malmotake,
Yes.
Bino Star,
Yes.
Ronga, Rasta. I think Buruma. I think that was you or Gauthier. I don't know, one of you guys.
Gauthier.
That was Gauthier. So that was some of the one that I knew.
Ron Harper.
Oh, there you go.
You know, Binoke.
Love the crossover. There's a lot.
Okay.
So, from basketball.
But I thought we have to go before basketball.
What else is there?
Okay. Go.
Man,
So if you
how
go,
do we know he's your brother?
I'm ready for you. I'm ready for your question. No problem. I'm ready.
But no, I don't know how long we have. But yeah, go. Let's start with basketball.
basketball, or you want to move more into his childhood?
No, we'll have a autobiography. Maybe later on, but let's go with the after or during basketball.
Well, because he grew up playing basketball, so basketball is part of his life.
So since day one. How old were you when you started playing basketball? And how did you know, like, oh, I like this game? Because, as Africans, the only sport we know is soccer. How did you decide, like, I have to be different from
the majority?
Because we see your brother here.
So, as Pani just said that basketball, I grew in basketball. I believe that I was at the age of 9 or 11 studying, learning basketball, because the environment, in which we were grow, it was a basketball environment.
And what country was that?
It was in Central Africa.
Okay.
Yes, so I grew in basketball, started as a little boy and growing with my friends, and till I become a professional, play in the league and stuff like that. So, yeah, so far so good.
So he was a professional basketball player.
It's funny, what happened?
I play at the first league. So,
yeah.
And my dream was to play one day in NBA.
So what happened?
God became a basketball. As I say, you can have a plan, but God has the master plan for your life, and He's the one who has the last word. So myself, my plan was to play in NBA, but when I met the Lord, it changed everything.
Okay.
So that was a call. The call being a pastor, or to serve the God, to serve the Lord, change all the process of my life.
Go ahead. At what age did that happen? That connection that you met God, and how long you played basketball? Because you played basketball for a long time into the league, and at what point? Because to me, based on my knowledge, I think that you were at a point where you were one step away from making it to the bigger league, and it seems like God took you away from that.
Exactly. As I say, it's a long story, because as I say, at the age of 9 or 11, I started learning how to play the basketball. After that, I reached the first league playing basketball. But everything began, I believe, in 2001. When I started to see the life differently. That was the call of God. I started to worry about the life after death. Seeing around me as some friends passing away, so it was like my conscience was talking to me like there's something bigger than just playing basketball. There's something there's some way that I have to find. So that's why it started to bother my heart. And I think in 2001 I got baptized at a church in Central Africa called Cooperation Church. Coopération in French, it is Coopération. And so I started to be attached to that church, listening to the teachings, Word of God, and that passion became more. So I felt like, I want to become, a man of God. I want to be, become more involved in the Word of God. And in 2000, I believe at the end of 2001, beginning of 2002, I traveled. I went to Congo. So when I went to Congo, there it was an overflow. The church that I was attached to, it was a church of the pastor Joseph Bovele. So there, in Africa, most of the churches, they have service like every single day. So it was a part of that church. So every single day they had a program.
Wow.
Unemployment.
Except Saturday. So going every day at church, it took me, I believe, 3 years. I was going every day at church, and when I come back home, I was practicing the Word of God, try to learn more, and it was a passion. And one thing was different is because that pastor, the way he was preaching, I was saying to myself, I just want to become like him. I want to preach like him. I want one day to be like him. And in 2005, I went back to Central Africa. So I think from there, I was attached to the church called Sion and Cooperation. So I was like half Sion, half Cooperation. That was in 2005. And, I was so attached to the Lord. And at 2006, I met a man. He's a pastor too. His name is Pastor Didier Godot. But I forgot something.
Okay.
So let me go back.
Go back.
So in 2001, before I went to Congo, there was a pastor. His name is Pastor Jean Bruno. So that the clique was there because he had a church at a place called De Rugoudrone in Central Africa for people who went there, they know. So I met that pastor. So I was interpreting him for 1 year. So he's a good teacher, good preacher. So, so he's the one who affected me. Like, he opened up my eyes and I started to see everything different. So after that, I went to Congo, and in 2005, I came back to Central Africa. So in 2006, I met, there was my coach. His name is Pastor Didier Godot. So he had like a church at his place, at his house. And from there, he called me, say, come. Because at his place, he used to organize like a Friday night prayer, and he used to invite like so many basketball players at the place. So, when he called me, and I said, okay, that's fine. So we started to work together in his ministry. He was the leader, and we were working with him. And there we started to serve the Lord. And after that, he came to US, and we stayed there. He left the church with under our leadership. And so that was the beginning. And after that, there was some friends who they have their ministries. So they invited me to go preach to the ministries, and so I think that was my little journey. With the Lord. With the Lord. Yes. And after that I came here in US.
That's really quite a bit of journey that you described there. I think is very fascinating to what God can do in people's life, how God can change a situation for his better advantage. And do you have a follow-up on that?
Yes, Bunny, you're next, because he mentioned something. He started like of course he was going to church, but he also started off as a translator, and I noticed. So, Spanny, how many years do you have?
Well, a calling of God, regardless of whether we like it or not, you cannot run away from when God called you. Look at what happened to Jonas.
Yeah.
God called him. He tried to run away. God will find a way to bring you back.
Yep.
And if that's what God planned for me, then I cannot run away from that calling. Because if it's just me, I have different ambition. I would say I can take a different route compared to my older brother, but it's all going to come down to God's calling.
You can see the pattern. You mentioned that after basketball, you start going to church. And my question, I kind of have two questions. Before you started like being involved 100% in church, were you going to church before that or during basketball? Were you aware about Christianity, and why? Because we have many religions and we have many beliefs. Why did you think or decide, what made you say this is the right way to be a Christian or to follow God? And but before that, were you going to church even though you were not a believer? Were you going to church during the basketball?
Yes. Okay, let me say like this. As I say, what I say here is like the main things, but there was like some little journeys too,
Yeah.
As my wife just say, my first day that I went to Congo, the first day when I went to the church, it was just to go maybe to find the girl there.
That's
You
where the
see?
girls are.
That's where the girls are.
And that preacher, he was preaching about the second coming back of Jesus Christ, about the rapture and stuff like that. So when I was sitting, I was just like, it seems like it was the end of my everything.
And you forgot about the girl you
I
went.
forgot. I say, okay, now I was worrying about my salvation. I say, hey, I'm lost right now because I remember that I was attached to the Lord a little bit because, as I say, when Pastor John Bruno, he came here to US, and now I have to go to Congo, and this transition period, I back away a little bit from the Lord. Started to do like worldly things again, And when I went to the church that day, the pastor was preaching so powerfully, and everything changed. So I was going to find a girl. Now it became, you have to.
So God put a trap, like, okay, for him to go back to church. Let me.
He didn't just go there normally. He was dressed like he went to go.
You need to describe that too, right?
He was wearing sunglasses in the church at dark.
People still do that, and they marry.
Exactly. And after the service, I went to the office of the pastor and opened my heart, started to talk to him. I was so touched, and I decided again to follow Jesus, all my heart. And he prayed for me, and I think that was it. It was like my eyes opened again, and everything woke up in me again, and I started journey again. Yeah.
So before, you mentioned that after your initial going to that church was to find a girl. That was but God has a different plan because I want you to be there at that moment, and I'm going to use my servant to talk to you at that moment. So you went after the service, you talked to the man of God. Okay, we all know how important having that relation with a man of God or talking to a man of God it is. But as a pastor today, you are. When people come and talk to you, how do you go about to deal with that situation? Because with a little bit of experience that as human we have, many preachers, many men of God tend to abuse that trust that the a believer have placed in them? How do you?
Let me add more question into it. Right.
Okay.
So you're a child of God first. You're a father.
Mm-hmm.
You're a husband. You're a brother. You're a son. All those things. That's a lot of baggage. And like, how do you put boundaries in each and everyone? How do you, like, your wife is like, nah, this is my husband. We were arguing last night. That's not my pastor. Like, no, that's a lot of baggage, and I see why people try to stay away from it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I try to be real, like not to have two faces.
Mm-hmm.
The face I have at church is the same one I have at my house.
I can attest to that.
Yes.
I can agree to it.
Oh, yeah, we will believe her more than.
But secondly, I know how to play the role
Mm-hmm.
as being a father, as being a big brother, as being a pastor. I know how to play the role. I have a time for my family. I have a time for work. I have a time for being pastor. So you just have to know how to discipline yourself and play each role at the right time. As you say earlier, or Pastor Spani said that when people come talk to you, because so many pastors or men of God, they try to abuse their members.
Mm-hmm.
I can say, first of all, it depends on the education, the spiritual education that you receive first. And knowing your calling, because it's, as you said, it's a responsibility. When the sheep they come to you because they trust you, and you have a limit too.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot like be involved in maybe your member life if they don't open the door for you. No. There's a limit, because we are just there to give advice, to show the way, but we are not there like to, be involved in their life if they didn't open the door for you. There's a limit. What I try to say, it's like, maybe in couple, a woman maybe is your church member, but she has her husband first. You cannot take the place of her husband. No, being his husband. No, you are the pastor. You are not her husband. She's under the leadership of his husband first, and secondly, being your member. So you have to have a limit. If they open the door, they invite you, you can go there. You see, because if not, that's why you see so many pastors, they try to abuse. They abuse the member or people relationship, people marriage, because they try to use their authority, to the marriage or stuff like that. No, it's not like that, But I know that different pastors have different vision, different education. So, this is how I do things. Yep, I have my boundaries, I have my limits. If they open up, I goes. If not, I'm there.
Very
praying for them.
And you mentioned the couples, right? You mentioned the couples, and we know nobody's perfect at all. And let's say some couples, or even something happened, and because all of you guys are members, your wife, your kids, and we have different way we live with our spouses, and some people might not disagree with it. For instance, somebody that disagree with how you're living with your spouse, and they're having a problem, and you're trying to advise, but they're like, "Oh, all right, you can't tell me anything, I don't agree with how you're living with your spouse." Like, how do, like, because being a pastor, that's one of the biggest, like, I always trying to be like Jonah, like, please give me something else about a pastor. Like, how do you handle that?
I think the Bible is our constitution, is the way. As Psalm 119, the verse 105 say, "Your word is like a lamp at my feet." It's like a light. So the word of God is the one I use to lead people of God, even couples, even children. So all the different level of society. So I just use the word of God, because everything is in the word of God. Everything. according to the marriage, according to the education, even politics, you find in the Bible. So I use the Bible like my tools to advise couples, to try to help them. If there's maybe some troubles or some understanding in that moment, I just use the Word of God, and with the leader experience that I have, I know how to advise, to lead them and bring them together, because the ministry that we have first is a ministry of reconciliation. As a man of God, you have to reconcile people. When there's a fighting in the couple, you come like a salt, try to give like some taste in the food. You have to come to bring them together, not to come to divide.
Right.
You see. So I think I don't know if I answered your question.
Oh no,
you
perfectly.
did. That's
hopefully
really
the audience too.
that's really nice. So you fully become Christian, fully baptized when you gave your life to Christ in 2001. 2001 to until now, I would say about maybe
20 years.
20 years. Oh man.
Mathematics.
Not everyone is good at math, Uncle T. Okay, so 20 years of giving your life to Christ, also giving up on your dream of playing in the NBA.
I would have never met him if he wanted to go and play.
True,
we won't be here.
We won't be here. True.
Maybe Europe.
So, from Central Africa to here, once you got here, okay, let's talk about the experience or the challenges, because when you came, you were already ordained as a man of God, as pastor, back in Central Africa, and then you come here. You started a new life. Let's talk about that challenge when you try to adapt with everything you knew from Central Africa, and you come here, you cannot exercise that at that moment. How did you feel about it? How was that experience when you were going through that?
Okay, let me say like this. I believe that before I came here, I've been through so many Bible school, like formation, like how I can say, I went to Bible school. I didn't finish it.
You can use
it
my
was
name.
just for 1 year.
You can use my name. Theology.
Yes, that was I just stay at the first level, at the Perspective Reform. That was the name of that Bible school, and and I went to different ministry school, like the one that I got, being a church planting.
So more like a how do you call it? Implanter.
Yeah, in French we call like a
planter of church.
Yeah,
like a missionary.
Yeah, exactly. For like a missionary, like to planting church.
Yeah,
that was at Foursquare Church, Central Africa. So I still have my diploma even here. It's here. And beside of that, I did like so many formation like that, And before I came here, we were like consecrated as a church planter. I just try to clarify this part. That was not like a pastor ordination. No, that was not a pastor ordination, but we were consecrated like church planters.
Okay.
Because there was a group of American missionaries coming from US church, Foursquare Church. So then when it was a class for, I believe it was 3 to 6 months. They put it together. And so they delivered to us those diploma. That means I was equipped to start a church anywhere I can be. But so when we left Africa, we came here, and when we came here,
I didn't start automatically.
I didn't start automatically to serve.
To plant church.
To plant church. I didn't start it automatically to plant church. No, I was at the church that I met my wife.
Okay.
You see, I met her at Messie Ministry Church.
Did you go there with the intention to look for a woman?
By that time, he was already delivered.
Yeah. So no, at that time I was already.
This time God answered the prayer.
No, at that time, when I came here, I was already in the God field. I was serving the Lord. I was in the ministry.
You see how he went for a woman and he found God, but went with the intention of God and found a woman. You see?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I don't know if I have to keep that part because, as you say, meeting her is gonna be like a different, or I can just.
No, it's funny. We'll put it together somehow.
Okay, so you want me to go?
Yeah,
No,
continue,
okay.
please.
Okay, so when I came, Messie Ministry was a church that when we came here we used to go, and it's a church that received us here. But being there, I was not a pastor, serving I couldn't plant a church because I was serving under somebody's vision, But being there, I believe that I started to receive this burden because 2 years before I started church, and I was fighting with this burden. And I received so many confirmation, left and right and stuff like that. And I believe one day, it was a Wednesday.
It was a
It was a
Wednesday.
Wednesday. It was a
Remember the
Wednesday at the Bible study. I went. I wanted to talk with the pastor, Pastor Mbo, and I talked to him. I explained him, what the Lord, put in my heart, and what was happening in my life. That's when I came here, that was the church that received us and stuff like that. And I believe that now I feel like a different calling in different things. So that was it. And after that, I started the ministry. I believe 3 or 4 months later on. So we started the Lion of Tribe of Judah. And I don't know
That's
if
everything started.
And you took a member. You took a member. You took
The
a
most
member
valuable one too.
You took a member with
Not
you.
just a member.
Not
just a member.
What I can add is just in life, we grow. In life we grow, and when you are a little kid, after that you're growing, and growing, you have some desire, you have some passion, some vision that you have your destiny.
Yes.
So I think that's what's happened. That's what's happened to me. Though that was that thing that God had already planned that before. I don't know how to explain it, and it was like a color. It was the time of God for me. That's what I can say.
Spend before you jump in, both of them. The last question. So after Messie Ministry, you started your own ministry. Like how far, how long it has been, and how do you think okay, I am where I'm supposed to be, or we need to grow more? Like, how is it when you started your ministry? What was the challenge? Also, how do you think you have grown?
I can say something.
Challenge or challenges?
Challenges.
Yeah, before I go to that point, I can say, the separation was not easy.
It was not easy.
Life,
Yeah.
It's even in marriages, when there's a divorce, it's always not easy. When you are together with people and there's a separation, it's always not easy. You see, it was not easy. Even when your son at the house, growing, say, okay, Papa, I think now I want to get married. The first time you say, oh, no, you, that boy, So
Yeah.
I think it's not easy, to move in life by yourself, because there I was under a leadership, but that was down the time that I have to move by myself, So it's not easy because you got some challenges, And what's happened to me, I learned stuff, doing stuff, learning in the same time.
Yeah.
Because the experience is what you are learning in the journey, and that makes me what I am today. You see?
Yeah.
Watching it from far, it was different when I was exercising, you know, so many things I discovered. I say, hey, I didn't know that I supposed to meet that one, you know. And that's what I say, you know. Sometimes don't be rush just to point finger, but sometimes, you know, watch first, because what you are pointing finger, you know, is coming back to you.
Come back to you.
Yeah.
You see, so it was not easy, because, you know, I started to lead people and, you know, dealing with characters of people, and it's not easy. Being a pastor, it's not easy, and I don't advise to anyone just, you know, don't just stand up and say I want to be a pastor. No.
But I hear it's a good business. There's money.
It's not a business. It's a calling, you know.
Yeah.
I understand why you want you want me to be. You know, there's so many called pastor or prophet or evangelist. They use like as a business, you know, because we cannot have a true if there's no false. You see, there's a true man of God and there's a false man of God. So, but so many today, you know, they use like church or ministry as a business. But the Bible says you will know them by them fruits.
Amen.
You see, so the fruits can tell everything. You know, the fruits can reveal everything. Yes, I don't know if I answer your question so far.
I think you did. So, so let's backtrack a little bit. You mentioned you got the training of become a change planter from Full Square Church. Okay, when you come here, why didn't you say that? Okay, instead of me, I try to start something new by myself. I have this diploma, I have this training. Why can I go back to the church that give me that training and become part of their vision and maybe go around the world and plant more church?
Okay, that's a good question.
He met his wife.
Coming here, you know, when we were coming here, I believe with my brothers, the vision that we had was, you know, to be attached to Full Square Church, even being here, you know, because I believe the transition between Full Square Church and El Shaddai Ministry, which is Pastor Godot Ministry, where we were serving before we came here. So at that time, we were so attached to Full Square and Pastor DJ Godot Church. So when we came here, in our mind, it was to serve, to be connected to Full Square Church. But, you know, as I said earlier, you can have a plan, but God have a different plan for you, because, you know, he knew that I should meet my wife somewhere, and he allowed me to pass by. And I appreciate, you know, I appreciate my journey, you know. He allowed me to go there to meet my wife, and, you know, so if he was not there, I couldn't meet my wife today. Yeah. So I'm so grateful for it, you know. So I can just thank God for it. Yeah. So all the path that where God, you know, led me, it was God's plan, you know. I can just thank God for it.
Okay. Definitely.
Yeah, so
it's good.
Exactly. And to add something on the top of what I just say, you know, for me, I say if I came here, I was serving God in Full Square Church, but it was not the case. Yeah. You know, I went to Messie Church, and after that, you know, I found myself in Lion of Tribe of Judah. And let me tell you a story about the Lion of Tribe of Judah Church.
Go ahead.
You know, when we started, it was not, in my mind, it was not like, you know, it's a church. It was like just a gathering of people, you know, and praying like a cellule. In French, we call like a cellule of prayer. Yeah. You know,
like a small group.
Exactly. Because there was a family, you know, I don't know if I have to go to all the details, you know.
You don't, but the story, just keep it general.
You know, we cannot change the story. The story is the story, you know. So we were meeting with that family just for praying, you know, and it was just a cellule of prayer. But God, in His sovereignty, you know, I don't know if that's a good word to say, but
no, it is.
He's sovereign, you know.
Yeah.
God, he took things differently. I'm telling you differently, because where we're supposed to meet, when we talk with the leaders, they say, hey, that place is not gonna be like a good place for people to come to meet. Use just maybe one bathroom or no. Let's just go take a place that can allow everybody to come and meet with us and pray. That was the beginning of becoming church. You say, okay, as we're gonna rent a place, so let's bring the name. And the name of the Lion of Tribe of Judah was given by my wife. Because I was asking, okay, what name we gonna give to that church? And she said, God put in my heart, we're gonna put the Lion of Tribe of Judah. And when she said, I said, exactly, this is the name. And there was a lady next to us say, yes, this is the name. So it was an agreement like that, and we say, okay, that's the name.
You need to trademark that.
Exactly. So that was the beginning of everything about the Lion of Tribe of Judah, and about.
It's funny, you abbreviated the name.
I did.
You abbreviated the name because we gave the Lion of the Tribe of Judah, and he's like, this is way too long. And he was like, how about we call it LTJ? That's how it came.
That's how. Yeah. So Uncle Chi, now we hear all the story, right? Before we go back, I wanted more to get out of the whole challenges part, but I think we need to bring the First Lady into this conversation.
I'm here.
Okay, so I think let's go back to your question. How did they met?
Yes.
Because it was a surprise for all of us. Oh yes, it was. It was a surprise because this is what I would say. Maybe I think how we found out, it was more, I think, at church at Messie at that time. We were sitting together, and I think the church was over. Mom kind of was like, why is that always that young lady? Every time she passed by, she has a different type of walking, like, in Lingala we say kodenda. And I mean, the lady is really like,
was it like passing by him, or like just passing?
Just passing by. That something is here. Like
like, if she walks in the room, you will know
that this type of passing is trying to attack somebody. It's not just a passing, Uncle Chi. You can pass.
Is that true? Was that your intention?
No.
You can pass. No one will notice it, but that the type of passing is something is there. That's why and Mom mentioned it, and he was like,
that's mom being mom.
That's mom being mom. At that time, you all was
didn't
like,
know.
But she saw the future.
Yeah. At that time, you all was like, maybe that's just who she is. That's how she walks. My mom was like, I don't, But, so from that later on, when it came out, then my mom was like, didn't I told you guys that lady was walking by for a reason?
I didn't even know this. I mean, I can take the question from there.
Yeah. So, Uncle Chi, what was your question? How did they make a move? They made, and who make the move first? And let's find out.